Hello, good morning students and welcome back once again to the class 9 Work and Energy chapter. We are continuing with this exercise after a long time. Hope you are well and good. And without wasting any more time, let's begin. So the question is, an electric heater is rated 1500 watts. How much energy does it use in 10 hours? So we have been given the power. Okay, so power of the heater has been given and we are supposed to find how much energy it is consuming in 10 hours. So if you remember the formula for power is equal to work done or energy consumed in a certain amount of time. So if you are doing certain amount of work or if you are consuming certain amount of energy, then you are given a power rate according to the time you are using or the time you have taken do the certain amount of work or consume a certain amount of energy. But in this case we have been given the power and we are asked to find the energy. Okay? So simple, all you need to do is substitute the values of power and time given and energy consumed. So you can give the answer in kilowatt hour or joules. It is not mentioned. So remember, if you are going to give the answer in joules, then you will have to keep it in watt. But if you are going to give the answer in kilowatt hours, then you will need to convert this watt into kilowatt. So first thing, power is 1500 watt. So it can be written as 1.5 kilowatt. That is, dividing it by 1000, it will give me 1.5 kilowatts. Simple. Now all you need to do is substitute the values. So power is equal to energy consumed in a certain amount of time. Power is 1.5, energy upon time is 10 hours. So it is already consuming 1.5 kilowatts in 1 hour. So in 10 hours, simply multiply it by 10. So all I need to do is therefore 1.5 into 10 is equal to energy consumed. That is simple cross multiplication, or I can write energy is equal to 1.5 into 10. That will give me 15 kilowatt hour. Remember, kilowatt hour. The unit has changed. You are multiplying just power with time. So now the energy is energy we have found out. So the unit of energy is not kilowatts. We have to multiply it with power as well. So the energy is 15 kilowatt hour. I hope it is clear to you students. Take a moment and then we will move on to the next one. Okay students, so after numerical we have once again a theoretical question and it requires an explanation rather than calculation. Illustrate the law of conservation of energy by discussing the energy changes which occurs when we draw a pendulum bob to one side and allow to oscillate. So they are saying that we have a pendulum suspended bob, okay, and it is taken to one side. Obviously, when you release this bob from this side, it is going to oscillate and go on the other side like this. We know how a pendulum works. So they are saying that explain the energy changes and the law of conservation of energy for this pendulum. Okay? And the next question is, why does bob eventually come to a rest? So we know that whenever we release a pendulum, after some time of oscillation, it is ultimately going to stop. Okay? It is not going to keep on oscillating forever. And then once again, is it the violation of law of conservation of energy? So why is it coming to stop? Because if the pendulum is getting stopped, that means some sort of energy is being lost. And where is this energy going? So according to the law, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So what is happening to this energy? So let us first of all discuss the conservation of energy, how the energy is getting transferred. At this point, let's say that this is point A, point B and point C. We take the bob which is suspended to point B. Over here, no force is acting on it apart from gravitational force and it is stable. The object is not moving. We take this bob to one side and therefore we have taken it to a certain height. We have taken height. Okay, let's say that at this particular height, because of this height, it is having potential energy. Obviously, we know that it is having gravitational potential energy because of its height. As soon as you release this bob from this particular height, it is going to start move. Okay? So because of this potential energy, it is going to move towards the point B. It is going to come down, and all of its gravitational potential energy is slowly getting converted into kinetic energy, just like the example of the ball or the stone that is being dropped to the surface. Okay? So this bob is rotating and oscillating and is going to go towards the point B and then towards the point C. So at this point, when it is coming to point B while moving, at this point its height is becoming 0. Okay, so this was its original place, this was its original point, and therefore at this point the height is 0. This is the maximum height, that is h. So this height h is having gravitational potential energy, but at this point height is 0. So on this point the gravitational potential energy is 0. Gravitational potential energy is 0, and all of the gravitational potential energy is getting converted into kinetic energy. Okay, and this kinetic energy will become maximum at this point. On this point, the gravitational potential energy is maximum, but as soon as it is going down, all of that potential energy is getting converted into kinetic energy, and when it comes to point B, it is going to have maximum kinetic energy, and therefore it is going to have maximum velocity. Okay, because of more kinetic energy, its velocity will also be more. All of the potential energy is converted into kinetic energy. Now at this point, because the bob is already moving, it is going to move forward, and because of its kinetic energy, it is going to reach a certain height h, and once again its kinetic energy now will become 0, and its gravitational potential energy will become maximum. Because of the kinetic energy, slowly it is going to move upwards and its velocity is going to decrease. Why? Because of the gravitational force acting on it. So it wants to move in that direction, but the gravitational force is keeping it downwards, and therefore it is not going to move more than this point, and so all of its kinetic energy is slowly converted into potential energy. Once again at this point, from point C, it is going to start to move downwards point B, where its kinetic energy will be maximum, potential energy will be 0, and it keeps moving and it reaches point A. So this is how it happens. Maximum gravitational potential energy slowly gets converted into kinetic energy, potential energy becomes 0, maximum kinetic energy and maximum velocity, it reaches a certain point C, maximum potential energy, and once again 0 kinetic energy. Now because of the gravitational force, it comes down once again to converting potential energy into kinetic. At this point, maximum kinetic energy and 0 potential energy, and it goes that way from point A, B, C to C, B, A, and oscillates. So this is how the conservation of energy works. Now at this point, you understand that because of the conservation of energy, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So all of the energy of gravitational potential energy will be converted into kinetic, and all of the kinetic will be converted into potential. But that is not happening in reality, which is where our next question comes in. Why does the bob eventually comes to rest? So at this point, let's say that it is having height h, but when it comes to point C, it is not going to have height h. Okay, that height will be somewhat reduced, and when it has less height, it is going to come on this side, and on this side it is once again not going to reach this height. It will be somewhere over here, and then somewhere over here, and ultimately it comes to a stop. So the height gradually keeps on decreasing. Why is this happening? Because when the bob is moving, we have atmosphere around us. We studied about fluid friction. We have atmosphere, and the air particles and the atmosphere applies the fluid friction on this bob and ultimately slowing it down. So that is why some of its energy is dissipated into the surrounding when it collides with the atmospheric particles, with the air. When the bob is colliding with the air, its energy is reduced and transferred transferred to the surroundings, and so that energy is not being utilized, dissipated into so smaller forms that it is not usable. Okay, and that is why that energy is reduced over here. Okay, and when it comes to this side, once again some amount of energy is lost in the surroundings, and that is why ultimately this bob or the pendulum stops oscillating, because of which energy dissipated in the surroundings. I hope it is clear to you, students. Okay, students, so this question is quite simple, theoretical and a little bit numerical. An object of mass m is moving with constant velocity v. How much work should be done to stop it? Okay, so we know that if the object is moving with certain energy, that means it is having kinetic energy half mv square, because m is the mass and v is the constant velocity, and therefore it is having energy this much. Now we have to stop it, that means kinetic energy equals 0. Or I can say this is initial kinetic energy and this is final kinetic energy. Now the question asked is, how much work should be done? So obviously we are going to stop this object somehow, and therefore negative work is to be done in order to stop it. Okay, because if the object is moving in this direction, we are applying the force in this direction. Okay, so even though the force is applied in this direction, the object will come to a stop in this. So force is applying in this and displacement is happening in that direction, and therefore negative work is to be done. But that is not the case. What we are going to do is find out how much work is done. So work done is equal to final kinetic energy minus initial kinetic energy. So kinetic energy final minus kinetic energy initial. Simple. So final is 0 and initial is half mv square. But I already said that you are applying the force in the opposite direction to stop it, and therefore over here you will have negative work done. Okay? So the question asked is, what will be the work done in order to stop it? So energy change is equal to work done. So simple, I can write that minus W is equal to minus half mv square. And ultimately what I can say is that work done or work energy required to stop it will be half mv square. Or whenever if I am stopping a vehicle which is having mass m and velocity v, then this much amount of work will be done. I hope it is clear to you, student. Very simple, and the next question is based on this exact same theory. Okay, students. So the question is, a car of mass 1500 kilograms is moving with constant velocity 60 kilometers per hour. How much work should be done to stop it? So we know the formula, because obviously once again negative work is to be done. Minus W is equal to final minus initial. The only thing is, first of all, the velocity is in kilometers per hour, so we will have to convert it in meters per second. So velocity v is kilometers per hour, that means 60 into 1000 divided by 3600. I have taught this a lot of times, so we are not going to waste any more time. Getting the zeros cancelled, and when you solve this, you will get 50 by 3 meters per second. Okay, you will have to do it by yourself. 50 by 3 meters per second. Now we have the velocity, we have the mass. All you need to do is substitute. So final minus initial, so minus half mv square, but negative sign getting cancelled from both the sides. So ultimately what I will write is work done is half mv square, that is equal to half. Mass is 1500 kilograms. Velocity is 50 by 3, but remember that we have to do the square for this. Okay, so it is not just 50 by 3, v square, velocity square. Quite simple. 2750. Now when you solve this, okay, what you will see that you will get the answer as 208,333.3 joules. This much amount of energy is required, or if you convert it in kilojoules divided by 1000, so you will get 208 quite simple. The multiplication you have to do, be very careful while multiplying, because once you do the theoretical work, don't waste any more time on the simple multiplication and division. Always do the simplification very carefully. One single decimal point or one single zero, if you add more or reduce it, you are going to get the wrong answer. Okay? So all of this will be in vain. I hope it is clear to you, students. We'll talk about more of this in the next video. Till then, have a nice day.